Good evening, everyone. We're calling to order the June 13th, 2023 Daytona Beach Shores Commissioners meeting. So Sherry, could you take a roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Moore?
Here.
Vice Mayor Paredes is excused. Commissioner Bryan?
Here.
Commissioner Conlon?
Here.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Here.
Thank you, Sherry. Reverend Bob, can you please lead us in the invocation this evening?
I invite you to stand and pray with me as we come into this time of meeting together. Let us pray. Lord of all creation, we come together thankful for this day that you have given us, the work or the leisure that we have accomplished in this day, and now for gathering us together as citizens and staff, as leaders, as neighbors and friends in this great city. We ask that you would be in the midst of us and guide and direct the decisions and the work of this body this evening. We thank you for those who are joining us as well from other places as a part of this meeting. May they feel a part of the work of this city as it's accomplished this evening. Lord, as the heat builds, remind us of the love we share for one another and for our neighbors and friends. As the cool rains come to water the earth and to cool things off in the afternoons and evenings, may we welcome your Spirit into our lives and into this place. We thank you for the ways in which we are blessed by living here, and we thank you for the opportunity to welcome so many from other places to enjoy this piece of paradise that we live in. And we ask you to be in our midst this evening. In your holy name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Bob, before you take your seat, can you tell us a little about, normally we have movie night in July, but we've moved it to June. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we have moved it to June, and once again, we thank the city for being such an amazing partner with this event, and we hope that along with the city, we can reach a good number of folks from our region and welcome them to Daytona Beach Shores and to the Drive-In Christian Church. We made that decision partly because of some things that were happening on the church calendar in July, but more importantly, we were hoping that we could get a little bit milder weather. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think we'd have to do it in April to do that, but I don't think it would be as effective in April. Anyway, we are excited about hosting the event again this year and invite everyone to come and be a part of movie nights, return to the good old days of drive-in movie theaters and introduce that to your family and friends if that's something that you remember being a part of your childhood or young adult years. And we certainly have the atmosphere to offer. We're showing 3 movies again this year on Sunday, beginning Sunday, June 25th, June 27th, June 29th. If it happens to be a rain out on those, we'll show the movie the next night. And
Tell us again what the admission is.
the admission is free.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely, it is free. We do have some sponsors that are coming in and bringing goodies that are also free for 2 of the 3 nights. We're still working on a sponsor for the 3rd night, I guess. And we'll also have the dollar concessions available to keep this a very low cost, very family friendly and accessible event for the folks that come. And we'll have the support of the radio station as well, doing games and music. Hula hoop. Yep, I'm not any better this year at hula hoop than I was last year. So.
I encourage everyone to go. It is such a wonderful evening, and it will warm your heart if you see some of the young parents coming in with maybe 3, 4, 5 children, and to be able to give their children this opportunity on the nights that they're sponsors. Sometimes it's ice cream. I think we had that slimy, hot dogs, popcorn. And so they can take their family of 3, 4, 5 for absolutely free, and then even the dollar concessions. You know, it's just so wonderful, and we appreciate you, and we're glad to partner with you on this event.
May I say just one more thing about the event? It actually piggybacks on our 70th anniversary, and we still have our pictorial timeline up in Friendship Hall. So stop in and see that too, because it's got a lot of wonderful pictures in it, not only of the history of the church, but the city as well. So come in and enjoy that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not have any presentations this evening, so we'll go right on to the approval of the minutes from May 23rd, 2023. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes as is?
So move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on any items in those minutes? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Economos,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items this evening on the consent agenda. If there's nothing to pull from that consent agenda, do I hear a motion to accept?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussions on either of those items? If not, Sherry, take and roll, please.
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Economos,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to old business, and this is ordinance 2023-03. Attorney Boyce, can you read that for us?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2023-03, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, relating to the creation of a tour service conditional use, amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances Land Development Code, amending Appendix G, Chapter 2, entitled Definitions, by amending Section 2-2, entitled General Definitions, by creating associated definitions for tour service conditional use, amending Chapter 14, entitled Zoning Regulations, by amending Section 14-58, entitled Special Exceptions and Conditional Uses, to establish the use and associated conditions of a tour service conditional use in the GC-RD General Commercial Redevelopment District, and amending the general and facility requirements of a live-work facility conditional use, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney. Noel?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is a second reading of ordinance 2023-03. Again, this is an amendment to amend the Land Development Code to establish a tour service conditional use and amend the live-work facility requirements. I'm going to try and breeze through what we covered last week, but this, again, defines what a tour service is, creates submission review requirements, amends the live-work facility requirements, defines what a daily operator is, amends the the residential component for live-work facilities to 700 square feet, and then new is to create a time frame related to the restaurant establishment, as well as some staging requirements. This is the requested regulations from the April 11th City Commission meeting. You guys have already seen this. This is what was included based on the comments from that meeting. Again, establishing a tour service in conjunction with a restaurant, creating those submission requirements, which include landscaping, creating that the tour vehicles are in an enclosed building, and that the daily operators are providing proof of working status. This is the language that's been added since the May 23rd, our last meeting. It was requested by the Commission to have that the restaurant staging elements are in place when the tour service is open. We've added some language into the submission requirements that the restaurant staging plan should be submitted at that time, but then furthermore, a specific requirement that the restaurant staging elements shall be in place at the time of the issuance of a certificate of use for the tourist service facility. So a few different catches in that. And then we've also added the language that the restaurant shall be established within 6 months of the tourist service, and that if the restaurant is abandoned, a new restaurant shall be established within 90 days. This is a lot of language on your screen. It's in the ordinance, but it does put in that the restaurant shall be established within 6 months, and then establishes what the abandonment of that restaurant looks like, and that a restaurant shall not be abandoned for more than 90 days. If it's abandoned, they shall notify the community services director of the abandonment, and then staff has also added in a clause that if they exceed the 90 days, the property owner can petition the community services director. But this is only in the event that a natural disaster has occurred or the eviction process, which takes longer than 90 days, has occurred. So this isn't a petition on anything. This is specific to natural disasters.
Okay, in that circumstance, then Stuart would be the interface.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
All of our notice requirements have been met, and staff is recommending approval as presented. Do you have any questions?
Do I hear a motion to accept 2023?
I move we approve. I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion on this? Any questions reading through there? Noel and Stuart, you did a very good job of laying it out, looking this over. I do see that every point we brought up was addressed, so I appreciate that, the detail that you put into here. So if there's no questions, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Economos,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, under new business, I think we have some people wanting to move into our lovely city. Congratulations. All right, so this is ordinance 2023-04, voluntary annexation. Attorney Voice, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is ordinance number 2023-04, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 3038 South Peninsula Drive, short parcel identification number 5334-02-02-0160, together with associated rights of way in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal effect in implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Noel?
Mayor, Commissioners, Noel Eaton, City Planner. This is a voluntary annexation request for 3038 South Peninsula Drive. The owner, the applicant is Charles and Patricia Register. The property is in a trust. The property size is approximately 0.496 acres, and the existing land use is that single-family structure that you see on the left. The uses aren't changing, they just want to be in the city limits of Daytona Beach Shores. This is an aerial view of the property. You can see it's kind of hard, but it's contiguous to our city limits on the north of this property. So when we annex half of the right-of-way, and they are contiguous to the north. The notice requirements have been met for this application, and staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2023-04 as presented.
Hey, can you explain a little bit more, once we annex something, especially on Peninsula, so that means it could be like a domino effect, the one next to it, the next to it. What about across the street? How does that work? Can you explain it to me?
So when we annex property, we do annex to the middle of the right-of-way, so it basically makes then the properties that are across the street then capable of being contiguous. So I know you'll see the next ordinance is the property to the south, so we are starting to see that and even interest further south. We just, as staff, need to make sure that we're not creating enclaves of separate parcel or separate jurisdictions within other jurisdictions. So there's a few different checks and balances we do before we present it to you, but these ones meet the Florida statute.
Okay, great, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I will so move. Second.
Okay. If there's any other questions, and is the property owner here today, or it's in a trust, so?
Yeah, I don't believe that they are. They're allowing their neighbors to try and go through with this process. I think it's a mutual agreement.
Okay, great. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Economos?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we move on to ordinance 2023-05, and this would be annexation on 3040 South Peninsula. Attorney Boyce, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is ordinance number 2023-05, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 3040 South Peninsula Drive, short parcel identification number 5334-02-02-0130, together with associated rights-of-way in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal effect in implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you. Noel?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Noelle Eaton, City Planner. This is the second one. This is a voluntary annexation application for 3040 South Peninsula. The owners are Charles and Brandy Steffi, and the property is approximately 0.64 acres. The location is 3040 South Peninsula Drive. That didn't make it over. And again, the existing land use is a single-family home and will continue to be that single-family home in the city limits. This is that same aerial view, but it's just a property to the south, so when we pass the ordinance to annex property to the north, they will then be contiguous with the shores on the north. All of our notice requirements have been met, and staff is recommending approval of 2023-05 as presented.
Do I hear a motion to
I move
accept?
we approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Noel, did one of these come in first, or they come in together, or how did this happen?
I believe this property was the one that spurred it and wanted it, and so they talked their neighbor to the north, and I think it's creating a sort of domino effect to the south. We'll see. I think there's some for sale, so they're waiting to see how that goes. But
Okay, great, okay. If no further discussion, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Economos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Is it under city manager that she'll be talking to us about the non-conforming?
Yeah, I'll bring those up under Mike.
Okay, great, okay, thank you.
Can I just say welcome to the new residents?
If you're listening online, I don't think either, we're very, very happy to have you in the shores.
We are, and I love seeing more properties on the river actually being annexed in,
Yes.
so that's fantastic.
Okay, next we're going to go on to the city manager evaluation. So every year per our charter, we do have to do an evaluation, and it should be in public that we review the results. First of all, what we did was, did everybody have an opportunity to sit down with the city manager to go over their evaluations?
I did not sit down with him, but I did talk to him on the phone.
All right. Everybody else have a chance to at least go over them, either on the phone or in person?
Yes.
Okay, great, great. Okay, so the overall that our city manager got, and it is public record, and you can see it in tonight's, was a 4.78. So that was very, very good for a first-year city manager, in my opinion. I see that, there were comments there. Again, with my background in HR, evaluations are very, very important. More so sometimes to the employee than they are the person writing them. If they're truly interested in making improvements, if there's no comments whatsoever, then it's hard to know what to improve on. I think this probably is not the best form to be using going forward. It's pretty subjective, and then if you, I have the privilege of working with the city manager almost every day, so this was very easy for me to fill out and give feedback. I don't know how easy that is if you're not with him a couple of times a week. So I'm suggesting probably in the next month or two, well, I'd like your opinion, that we have a workshop and see what form we could use, because I can assure you that this city manager does want to improve. He wants to know what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong, what we would like him to do differently. So I would be like to provide that feedback to him. So what's everyone's opinion on, maybe having a workshop in the next month or two? And the reason why I say it's then, because he's evaluated from May till the following June. So it's only fair to him to know what he's being evaluated on. So I'd like everybody's feedback, what they think of that. Commissioner Bryan, do you want to start?
That's fine with me. It would be nice, but I don't know whether it's possible to have a more objective form.
Well, we certainly can talk about that in that workshop, and come up with
Saying
something.
that would, I don't think most city governments actually end up with objective evaluations. So it's not easy.
Okay. Well, that's something we can brainstorm and see, but maybe something, I think Commissioner Lindauer, you responded that some of these things on here you just couldn't answer because you just didn't know the answer. So I'd like something that works better for all of us and that also works for our city manager, that he has some goals that he can strive for. So would you be willing to sit down in a workshop and maybe revamping this evaluation?
I definitely would, yes.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Economist?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Anything else that we want to discuss? Again, this is public record. You can go in there and see how we evaluated him and what comments we made. Is there anything else that we want to talk about here this evening?
I just think the city is lucky to have our city manager. He does a fantastic job. I know he works well with others, and I'm sure everybody in this room would attest to that, and I think we're in very good hands.
Good.
Yeah, I just add to that, I think that that Kurt is the right person for the job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely agree with that too. But sitting down and talking to him too, he understands he's not perfect, and he does want to know which ways, going forward for the next year, what does he need to improve upon. So looking over some of the comments I made, mine were more in the employee part of it, nothing to do specifically with Kurt, because it's a sign of the time right now. It's very hard to A, get employees, and very hard B, to keep them. So, maybe looking at more of a retention type program, a recruiting, maybe going out to some of the job fairs that are in the area. So we've talked a little bit about that, and that's the only thing that I want to say, is that, I would like to work with him more like that in the future. City Manager, how did you feel about this? Anything you'd like to add?
Well, first of all, let me say it's been a good year, a challenging year. Hurricanes certainly weren't something I had looked forward to in the first year, but it was very nice to meet with each one of you and get feedback, positive, the constructive feedback, I'll call it. As the mayor said, I am always looking to improve, as I will challenge my staff to do the same. So thank you for that. I'm always open to feedback, good or bad. I want to do what's best by the city, and that feedback from this commission is vital for me to be able to do that. You are the eyes and ears of the city, so thank you for that feedback, and I look forward to working with you guys for many years to come.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments, then we'll move on to the reports of the city attorney. Attorney Boyce, do you have anything for us this evening?
No.
Okay, thank you. Reports of the city manager?
Just a couple of quick things. I didn't print a report for the permits. We did not get one today unless...
I did not
see it.
either. I will reach out to him tomorrow.
As of last week's report, just under 90% of the permits that have been submitted for seawall repairs have been issued. So we're real close for those that have submitted. Staff has identified about a dozen properties that we feel were impacted enough, but they have not submitted permits. So that's kind of a separate list, and we're going to be trying to work with those properties to find out why and when they will be submitting. It's possible that we go to them and they say, well, the damage wasn't enough that we need a permit, but,
Kurt, could you tell me why Millie's Restaurant is crossed out on the?
I'll get to that one in just a minute.
Yeah, this is the non-conforming
Yeah, I'll
sign.
get to non-conforming signs in just a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So we're gonna try and work with some of those properties and see, at the, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, when Commissioner Bryan gave his presentation about armoring and other stuff, to give you an update. I did reach out to the county regarding that, and I was told they are focused on getting properties with the 2 trap bags first. At the time of that phone call, they were about 50% through what they believe will be properties that they're able to serve. So that is their focus right now. If they get down to the end and there is an opportunity, they may be willing to look at that 3rd trap bag concept. But their focus right now is, again, getting those properties that don't have any trap bags.
Do you know how many there are of those?
I don't.
Okay. It's been, would you say, a good 2 months since they first started that program? I would
Easily,
think
yes.
that they would be at the end of.
Yeah, I think the issue has been getting the easements. So they're still, from what I was told, they were still trying to work through that process. And they may actually be a little bit further than 50%, but I think that was a conservative number on their behalf.
And please let them know that, you know, we will help them in any way possible in the shores with the easements, if we need
Yes.
to do that. Thank you.
You probably saw we had a truck event over the weekend.
You didn't.
Well, yeah, you were out of town there. But our folks ramped up with a zero tolerance policy. You all should have received an email that talked about the number of citations and stops and other things. It was a pretty active night, Saturday night. We did respond to a shooting Friday night, not in the shores, but our officers did respond. Fortunately, the only thing I'm told was hit was a vehicle. And that was kind of a last-minute prep, but our folks are unfortunately getting well-versed in these events and responded at the very high professional level that we've come to expect and appreciate. The last thing is, before you have the list of non-conforming signs. Millie's is scratched off of here because they got their sign, so their sign is good. So you'll see if you look at the right-hand column, that NOV is not November, it's notice of violation. So those are the 7 that have been issued notice of violation of nonconformance, and I'm assuming maybe the next special magistrate or the one after that, that they would be on for that.
Can you pass him the mic, please, Dean?
We're thinking it's probably going to be the one. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. We believe it's probably going to be within a couple of months or so.
Oh, it's not going to be July. You're thinking August or onward?
That's what I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any reason for that it wouldn't be
I
July?
think it's because of the timeliness to, them having to actually show that they have or have not received the NOV. And from that point, we go ahead and schedule it accordingly. But I believe the agenda may have already been set for July as well.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell us what working on permits means?
So working on permits mean that they have been in communication with the city, and we have evidence that they have been reaching out to contractors. We've spoken to their contractors, and they've also shared with us a contract of some sort, basically showing that they have a relationship with a contractor and they're moving forward.
Okay, and then permits approved is that they put something in the works and they're just working on, so we can anticipate that everyone in that column will eventually be conforming.
So permits approved mean that the permit indeed has been approved. In some cases, the permit has not been picked up yet, but we've contacted them and we're just waiting for them to pick it up. In other cases, the permit has actually been picked up and they are moving forward, fabrication and all that.
Stuart, can I ask you about one in particular, and I was talking to Gwen about it today. So the Holiday Shores condo, I understand that's a timeshare. If they do nothing, I mean, what choice do we have? How can we have that sign taken down if they don't comply?
I think that's something I will leave up to the city attorney to maybe take a shot at.
We would want to have a running fine started with regard to, following the special magistrate hearing. And then after the running fine has been going for a while, we'll notify them of a foreclosure action. And we can take it to a foreclosure. That should definitely get their attention. There won't be any defenses if it's timeshare. It can't be somebody's homestead. So we should be able to, address it and definitely get them to listen.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions for our city manager, Noel or Stuart, on the non-conforming? All I'd like to say is wonderful, wonderful job. I mean, I know we started out with a huge amount. Even, when we started that separate grant we did, it was a very big number, and to get it down to this, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And Mayor, Commissioners, this is really a testament to the effort that Noel and Gwen have been putting behind the scenes to see, action taken. There's a lot of things that they do that, and this is one of them that we don't really see in the forefront, but, Gwen and Noel have really been pushing forward to see some action on this side.
Great.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Okay, if, city manager, do you have anything else?
That was all, Madam Mayor.
Okay, do we have any questions for our city manager? Okay, if not, we'll go on to council comments. Commissioner Bryan, what do you have for us this evening?
I guess I'll just play the broken record again. There's going to be my properties that have no permanent armoring. I think the approximate number for those 2 trap bags was over 200, maybe 240. They issued the RFP for those trap bags back in January, and if you're only 50% done now, that's, we're in the middle of June. And if you don't do some planning, the county is in the best position to add a 3rd trap bag. If they don't do some planning, in my opinion, there's likely to be a lot of properties that either have nothing or have only the 2 trap bags. And if we have a significant hurricane season, there's going to be a lot of erosion.
Okay, let me ask you this question. I don't know the answer. If they elect to, the property owner, put up the 3rd trap bag themselves, are they allowed to do that?
They would have to get, the reason why the county's in the best position, and I'm saying this independent of who actually ends up paying for it. They could get one blanket permit application like they did for the 2 trap bags. If the property owner has to do it, each property owner is going to have to apply for a permit. Now, based on that memo that I passed around, I think they'll get it. The question is, how long would it take to turn it around? There are other reasons why the county is in the best position, because they already have a quantity, discount on the trap bags. They already have been doing the 2 trap bags. They have the labor, and they presumably would have access to low-cost sand. So I'm not trying to say the county should actually pay for it. I'm just saying they're in the best position to actually do it, regardless of whether they end up, say, billing the property owner for it or whatever.
Okay, but if the property, so there's probably, I want to say maybe 50 to 75 to even 100 that went out and got it on their own, located the sand, located the trap bags, and got that all done. So these ones that you feel that aren't properly protected, could they not do that if they chose to?
Sure. I mean, theoretically, they could each one do it on their own. I'm not sure which properties you're talking about that actually put up trap bags since Nicole anyway, or.
There was just several, that they wanted their property protected. I can think of Grand Coquina, Hawaiian Inn, Ocean Court, all of those, chose to get.
Yeah, they did, and most of those are actually probably the ones that will actually have permanent armoring, at least those, the ones you mentioned, Hawaiian Inn. It's the ones that, they may think they're gonna have permanent armoring, but every week I go out there, I can see schedules slipping. And, you know, that's kind of to be expected, but in the current supply and demand that we're in, there's just, you know, a lot of overcommitment in terms of engineers, in terms of contractors, and so, you know, and we're getting pretty close to when we could have some pretty significant storms.
Absolutely.
Actually, the one last weekend did a lot of erosion up the last beach access in the shores. That whole return ramp was so severely eroded, it's closed now. So, and that was a relatively mild storm compared to what we.
Right, no, I agree with you that a lot of them, you know, I ride up and down the beach a lot, and it doesn't look like they're prepared. I would hope they would say, I'm not gonna wait for the county, I'm not gonna wait for the city, I'm not gonna wait for the government to supply me with these things. I'm gonna go out, I'm responsible, that I'm gonna do it, but.
Yeah. Well, part of it is, you know, the county basically defines the protection as minimal protection. I don't think most property owners understand what they really need to protect it. Some of them are counting on having permanent protection. Some of them will have permanent protection, but most of them won't. And it's kind of like trying to get people to cooperate with their neighbors and build a common seawall. They should understand that, but they don't. It doesn't translate into action.
Right.
Well, a lot of action anyway.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's the main thing.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Lindauer?
Yeah, I'd like to again welcome our new neighbors who asked to join the community. It makes me feel that we must be doing something right, because these are all voluntary annexations, and we seem like we've had quite a few in the last year or so. So it's nice to see people who want to join us as opposed to people who are being involuntary annexed.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you for that comment. Commissioner Gomez?
Other than, I would agree with Commissioner Lindauer's comments about that, and other than that, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just want to say, normally tomorrow would be the day that I'm having coffee with the mayor, but several residents have come over to me the years and said, I wish it wasn't in the morning, you know, I work, I can't do that. So I committed to once a year I would have a nighttime event, so we're gonna call that, I think, Snacks with the Mayor. So that will be tomorrow from 5 to 7. The location, it will be in this building, but the room we don't know for sure. Unfortunately, something happened to our elevator. And being sensitive to some of our residents that might not be able to go up the stairs, we'll determine if it's upstairs tomorrow or downstairs. But it'll be Snacks with the Mayor. There'll be no guest speaker. There'll be light refreshments. What I want to do is just make sure that everybody in the city knows who our city manager is and his direct reports and what they're responsible for. So they'll just get up and talk again about, this is the department that I'm in, this is how I can help you, this is what I can do. Again, these meetings are always open to any questions that anyone has on any topic. I'm sure we'll have more topics, questions again about seawalls and things like that. But any question, anyone that's ever been to the Coffee with the Mayor, nothing's off limit. You can even ask a crosswalk question, and I won't. Question. I have to laugh about that because normally when I had coffee with the mayor, every single time we'd have a crosswalk question. But those haven't been coming up as much, have they, Chief? Knock on wood. Anyway, so anyway, that's all that I have right now. Nancy, is there any events I'm forgetting? Now to remember, this is Flag Day tomorrow, so we'll have a special little treat for you if you come since it's Flag Day. Okay. I don't have any written audience comments. As always, I open up to anyone that has any comment about anything. Is there any questions or anything anyone would like to talk about? Okay, if not, we're going to go on to items recommended for the next agenda. Before we started this meeting today, we had a workshop interviewing a candidate for an alternate for one of our boards, and that will be on the agenda for next month. Anything else we need added to the agenda? Okay, if not, I'm sure a lot will come up between now and June 27th. So thank you very much for coming to the meeting today and turning in online. We appreciate it. The meeting is